Good evening, Zimbabwe. You're listening to Studio 7 from the Voice of America on Wednesday, August 5th, 2015. And this is Live Talk. I'm Gibbs Dube.
And I'm Jonga Kandemiri.
Tonight on Live Talk, we are talking about massive job losses in Zimbabwe.
To join our discussion, phone us directly at 001-202-619-2077 and we'll call you back.
Live Talk goes out to Zimbabwe on our 909 meter wave and on the 4930, 5940 and 1560 kilohertz shortwave, Monday through Friday at 8:30 p.m.
On the internet, you can find us at www.voazimbabwe.com, at www.voashona.com, and at www.voaindebele.com.
And if you have just joined us tonight on Studio 7 Live Talk, we are talking about the job cuts in Zimbabwe that have become the in thing.
At least 18,000 workers in various sectors have lost their jobs in almost 2 weeks following a Supreme Court order allowing employers to fire workers by only giving them 3 months' notice.
And today, the Supreme Court dismissed an appeal to overturn its decision, opening floodgates for companies to get rid of more workers. Millions of Zimbabweans are jobless due to the current harsh economic environment in the country, which has resulted in the shutdown of several companies in the last few years.
President Robert Mugabe's ZANU-PF party promised to create more than 2 million jobs in the run-up to the 2013 general elections. They were banking on its economic blueprint, the Zimbabwe Agenda for Social and Economic Transformation, or ZIM Asset.
What do you think about this issue? If you wish to join the show right now, phone us directly at this number, 001-202-619-2077, and we'll call you back. That number again, 001-202-619-2077. You
can also send us a message or WhatsApp. Our number is 001-202-465-0318. Or post the messages on Twitter, Facebook, or email at studio7news@voanews.com.
Yebo kambe mahlabezulu lingalutshona njani lapha likhona thina ngapha lojonga siyaphila sibile kwamagama. Lapha nje ke udaba esikhuluma ngalo yikuxoxwa kwabantu imisebenzi. Sizwile ke abantu bekhuluma sibile abanengi esixoxe labo besithi sokulabantu abangaphose inkulungwane ezimbili sengathi kona 18,000 asabalahlekelwe imisebenzi. Kusukusela khonapho kusenzwa isinqumo selesizathathwa ke Supreme Court esokuthi phela umqhashi angaxoxa imisebenzi amnike i3 months ukuthi kumele uchaye phansi. So siyabona amakampani amaningi jonga asexoxile selabantu okumangalisayo. Kodwa ke lamhla sizwele njalo iSupreme Court bebezama ukuthi bekuvale khonokho kodwa kwehlula. So lantu yabona. So khanyazani kuzaqhubeka kunjalo nje.
Ndizvo nasi tiri kukurukura nyaya iri kunetsa muZimbabwe pari zvino yekurasikirwa nemabasa kuri kuitwa vashandi. Tinonzwa kuti kusvika pari nhasi parasikirwa vashandi vanosvika 18,000 mabasa muZimbabwe, zvichitevera mutongo wakapiwa nedare reSupreme Court wokuti vashandirwi vanogona kumisa vashandi mabasa mushure mekuvapa zviziviso zvemwedzi mitatu. Vashandi vaviri vekambani yezuva vanga vakwikwidza mutongo iwo weSupreme Court vakaenda kuConstitutional Court. Tinonzwa kuti dare iro ragarawo nhasi rikarasa zvakare nyaya yevashandi ivavo rikati aiwa zvakatongwa nedare reSupreme Court ndizvozvo ndo zvinoramba zvichiteerwa nemitemo, nekuti magwaro evaviri ava vanga vasina kutaura kana kudonongodza nyaya dzekutyorwa kwekodzero dzavo sezvinodiwa nebumbiro remitemo. Ndo zvatanzwa kuti zvabuda kudare redzimhosva nhasi, asi tanzwawo kuti dare guru rePolitburo reZANU-PF ranga richigarawo nhasi. Ndofunga richiri kugara pari zvino Gibbs vanga vachitarisirwa kunzi vachakurukurawo nyaya yekurasikirwa kwemabasa iyoyi nevana veZimbabwe.
So as Jonga is saying that there are reports that the Politburo is sitting right now and they're discussing this issue, and people are expecting maybe the president to come out with an edict, a presidential decree to say, okay, let's stop this and maybe come out with some proposals. Because it will take about 6 months for that edict to be, in place before some new legislation is enacted by Parliament. So it appears as if maybe ZANU-PF decided to renege on their kind of promises to say we are going to try to push for that agenda.
Takanzwa kuti iwe ZANU-PF vari kuti aiwa tinosiyira zvinhu zvese mumaoko emutemo kuti unge uchiteerwa. Saka tisingazoziva kuti mutungamiri wenyika vari mutungamiri weZANU-PF vaRobert Mugabe vanozoonekwa here vachishandisa masimba avo kuti vange vachishandura mutemo iwoyo kana mutongo wapiwa nematare iwoyo.
Let's see who we have on the line. We've got our first guest, and that is Mr. Paves Mchicho, who is a trade unionist based in Bulawayo. Mr. Mchicho, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening. Thank you. Good evening, listeners.
Thank you very much. We also have Professor Lavmo Matuku. I think we are told by our producer that Mr. Matuku's number is a problem. We've got Mr. Joseph Chuma, who is a ZANU-PF member of parliament for Pelandaba Mpopoma constituency. Mr. Chuma, good evening and welcome to the program.
How are you?
You're very fine. How are you, Mr. Chuma?
Honorable is my title.
Honorable Chuma, yes.
Fine.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing? And good evening to all listeners.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, Chunga, I think you can start the poll rolling.
Ndofunga tikatanga nekukurukura navaMchicho. Tozwa kuti vaMchicho pane magwaro kana mashoko anga achiburiswa mamwe achitaona mubepa nawo reHerald vari kuti ivo sangano revashandi reZimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions rakusiya vashandi pamhene, rakutiza vashandi panzvimbo yekunge richivamirira, rakuvasiya pachena. They said the ZCTU is now abandoning workers at the most time when they are needed most. What's your reaction to these reports?
It's not true what they are saying, because obviously the workers' organization remains a workers' organization under whatever circumstances. The people, the workers of this country are still represented by the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions, and there's no other worker organization that is representing the workers except the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions. And whatever is happening now is we are all aware that these judgments have come at a time when there's a lot of unemployment in this country. We find that there has been deindustrialization in our country, such that we've got over 90% of the working class unemployed. So how then can ZCTU abandon its members? It's something that is not possible.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mchicho, and stay on the line. Let's introduce another guest, and that is Professor Lavmo Matuku. We've got him now, and make Mr. Chuma to be on standby for a couple of minutes. Professor Matuku, good evening and welcome to the program.
Yes, how are you? Fine. Good evening.
Thank you so much. Now, tell us, where are we in terms of this Supreme Court judgment? You know, you were appealing against that kind of judgment through, those workers.
Yeah, we are still appealing against the judgment to the Constitutional Court. Mm-hmm. What has happened is that first we filed an appeal on behalf of the workers to the Constitutional Court. Mm-hmm. Then after filing an appeal, we then made an application to the court for that appeal to be heard as an agent appeal. So that separate application for the appeal to be heard as an agent appeal was heard by Justice Yambi last Friday. And today she issued a judgment where she dismissed the application for the agent hearing. In other words, saying that the appeal will not be heard as an agent appeal. But in dismissing the appeal, she also made statements indicating that in her view, she did not believe that there is a right of appeal from the Supreme Court to the Constitutional Court in this matter. Mm-hmm. So she did make those comments, but those are her personal views. The decision as to whether or not the appeal can be made or whether the appeal is valid will be made by the full court when it determines the appeal.
Mm-hmm. So what are the implications here about this kind of new development?
There's not much. The only implication is that there will not be an agent hearing. In other words, we will sit until the normal time that an appeal is heard, which might take a year or so. I think that's the implication. But of course, I have read some positions by other lawyers who think that there is no basis to appeal to the Constitutional Court. I think their reading of the Constitution would support the views of the judge. But they are all wrong. The appeal is being made on the basis that the Supreme Court made an unconstitutional judgment, not that the Supreme Court was deciding on constitutional issues, but that the judgment itself, when it was then made, when you look at its effect, it's an unconstitutional one.
Okay, thank you very much, and stay on the line, Mr. Matuku.
Tomboenda kuna Honorable Joseph Chuma. Makadi Honorable.
Tinofara makadi.
Aiwa ndiri mupenyu. Nyaya iri mudariro ndiyoyi yekurasikirwa kwemabasa uye mutongo wakabva kudare reSupreme Court nemutongo wazosvitswa nhasi nemutongi wedare repamusoro Justice Fernanda Ziyambi pamusoro pekugara kwavakaita musi wechishanu. Imiwo munotambira sei zviitiko izvo?
On my personal view, I think this whole scenario is a very sad one. I speak largely because I represent a constituency, I represent people. So the suffering that these people are enduring is the same suffering that is coming into my bones as well. I feel for them, and I don't really understand how we have let such a law stick by until it hit us at this hour. But it is my hope together. This is not the time to be blaming each other, but this is the time to be looking at this thing and saying, okay, we've got a situation in our hands. How best do we come out of this? Because according to my understanding of that ruling from the Supreme Court, when they quoted that section 12, I believe there's A, B, and C or something like that. But if they follow it to the B section, that mutual understanding or mutual agreement between both parties. So now my question is, my workers was a mutual agreement here? If they were not agreed on, then Wanamaduku, who are the experts in law, why are they not picking up on that? I mean, that kind of hot point. Where to base it on that? Their argument must be, Musaverenge Mutemo, where it suits you, and leave the other part which might not suit you actually. So I think we're going to get a reprieve people. But can we look at Mutemo properly? Because surely, as a member of parliament, it's saddening to see people losing their jobs at this rate. We cannot allow it, and I wish and hope this is the time when we should now all come together. Some differences aside and say, ladies and gentlemen, what do we do for our people? How do we go out of this? Because look, at times, like what our president said, quoting from Charles Dickens, the law is a mess, and that's a fact. But the law is made for people, and not the people made for law. So somehow we need to come up with a reprieve. We need to come up with a solution to try and avert this disaster that we are facing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chuma.
Ndofunga pamwe Professor Madhuku angangopindura zvataurwa naHonorable Chuma izvi kuti pane kame kachikamu kemutemo kanenge kari kupotswa nevanhu kunzwisiswa. Ameno mungatsanangura here Professor Madhuku?
Ndingatsanangura zvavataura MP ichokwadi chandingada kuti nditsanangura vanhu veshe kuti zvese zviri kutaurwa zvakataurwa kudare reSupreme Court panga pechiagiwa nyaya iyoyi. Takataura zvese zvekuti nyaya yanga iri mudare reSupreme Court yanga iri yekuti section iri muLabour Act inoti hakuna mushandi anofana kusiyiswa basa yakanyorwa nechirungu kuti every employee has a right not to be unfairly dismissed. Ndo zvakanyorwa imomo. Yozipa zvakawanda wanda sezvavari kutaura izvo maenzaniso imwe iripo yekuti kana munhu akapiwa contract inonzi inopera kana 1 year, asi kana 1 year yapera haungonzi zvatopera ngaaende kana kuri kuti paine chaanofungidzwa kuti angapiwa kawanda. Saka Supreme Court yakangorambirana nepfungwa yekuti Labour Act zvese ukaverenga masection iwawo vanga vachitaura iwawo anotaura kuti munhu haangodzingwi ongopuwa mamhanzi vakangoti hakuna zvakadaro sekuona kwavari kuita. Saka ndo nyaya inofanira kungoti ivo veSupreme Court vanenge vachitsanangura mutemo sekuona kwavanoita. Chandiri kungofunga kuti ndingataura zvangu kune vanhu vese veZimbabwe kana vari kuteerera ndechekuti hurumende nevamwe vanhu vari kuda kutarisa nyaya vari kuda kuita kungoonekwa kunge vanhu vakanaka mumaoko eSupreme Court. Supreme Court yakakanganisa, ndosaka nyaya dzichida kuti dziende kudare repamusoro idzi vari majaji akangofanana ndivo taida kuti vaya vakatonga kuSupreme Court vange vasiriko 5 poitwa vamwe majaji anombotarisa nyaya iyi zvakanaka tesa constitution. Ndosaka muchiona kuti justice yambi vatsvaga nzira dzekungoda kuvharavhara nyaya iyi. Chinodiwa ndechekuti patariswe futi nyaya iyi nerimwe dare.
Thank you so much, Mr. Matuku. Let me go first to Mr. Pesimchicho ngesintu. Baba Mchicho uzwile lapho ubaba Matuku ekhulume sithi njoba icourt sikhulumile. Ukhaya kwathatha isikhathi eside ukuze kuhlalwe phansi kumiswe khona okwenzakalayo. Ungathini khona lapha mafutshane?
Kuliqiniso sebili uzathatha isikhathi siyazi ukuthi iSupreme Court ivele yona ukuthi ikhangele lokucubungula amacala ithatha isikhathi eside. Yikho kulihlupho khona ngaleso sikhathi abantu abaxotsha imisebenzi babe behlupheka. Yikho obekwenze oMaduku labanye bakhe ukuthi benze i-agent chamber application yokuthi indaba le ikhangele masinya ngesiphangiphanga. Ngenxa yokuthi iqiniso elihle okukhona khathesi okuvelela abantu eZimbabwe abakwazi ukuthi kuyaphela ngani, ngoba nxa idale elaphezulu iletha isigwebo esivula ukuthi ofuna ukuxotsha umuntu amxotshe iloba ngayiphi indlela kuyinto enzima kakhulu eletha udubo losihlupho kakhulu phezu kwabantu.
Yes, siyakuzwa kakhulu ke baba Mchicho. Ubambe khonapho ungayikatshana. So what he's saying is, is literally expressing fears that it may take too long for these job losses to be stopped following this kind of court action, to say that, they are going to take it. Yeah, that's right. It's not an urgent court application matter. So now we've got a caller from Headlands, and that is Alistair. Alistair, good evening and welcome to the program.
Hello, how are you?
You're very fine. How are things?
I'm fine.
Can you reduce the volume of your radio just a little bit?
Okay, let's go. I've turned it off.
Yeah, okay, great. So what are your views on this issue?
I feel there are some people who are after destroying ZANU-PF from within. So this judgment has been done first to bring chaos and misunderstandings. Remember, it is the same government that promised to create 2.2 million jobs. Now, the judgment resulting in more job losses is another way of demising this party.
So, how do you think this can best be handled? We have got Mr. Matuku here. Can you ask him, are you a worker?
I am.
Yeah, can you talk to him? Professor Matuku, please. Can you talk to him?
Yeah, Mr. Matuku has become a politician these days. I believe this is one way. Do you agree with me that this is one way of the destruction of the ZANU-PF government?
Mr. Matuku?
Okay, yes, ndinokwanisa kupindura zvavari kutaura zvine musoro sere kuti judgment yakapiwa neSupreme Court inokanganisa zvinhu zvakawanda kuwandisa. Hakuna nyika ingabvuma zviri kuitika izvi kuti munongomuka vanhu vachingodzingwa sezvatiri kuona. Manumbers acho ari kuwanda zuva nezuva, vanhu vachatambudzika, urombo huchawanda mukati menyika. Saka iri nyaya yekuti zvinonzi aiwa tiri kuzvita nekuti mutemo unoti. Ndianiko munhu munyika muno anganyatsobvuma kuti kubva patakati 1980 kusvika nokuti section yanga yachishandiswa neveSupreme Court kuti vati mutemo weZimbabwe unotenda kuti munhu angodzingwa ne3 months yakagara iriko kubva muna 85, haina kumbochinja section iyoyo. Saka zvokuti section inongozomuka muna 2015 itonzi aiwa mamusingazvioni ndo zviripo izvi kuti mutemo wenyu wakadai. and then mozoona vehurumende vamwe vanofanira kuziva beta ndo vakagadzira mutemo vachinyatsoziva kuti havadi kuti kuti taona kuti pane loophole. Zvaizobatsira kudai president vasina kuita matauriro avakaita ekungoti law is an ace zvavakataura vakanyatsotaura kuti aiwa handii kuti mutemo uyu wakataurwa nemazvo. Zvaizonyatsobatsira kuti direction yenyika iende, kwete kuti aiwa majaji akangotaura mutemo ndo basa ravo saka taakugadzirisa. Hapana kana mutemo wezimbabwe unotendedza kuti mangodzingwa basa vanhu vachiita varombo everyday. So kuti zvichati zvinoda kunzi vanhu vane mapurani handizivi hangu izvozvo, but ichokwadi kuti judgment yesupreme court inouraya nyika yezimbabwe.
Thank you very much, Professor Matuku. Mr. Alistair, are you happy with that kind of response?
I'm very happy because the people that are losing their jobs are not being given the 3 months salaries that are supposed to be given. So everybody's angry.
Thank you very much for your contribution. I think you heard him, right?
Yeah, I heard him.
Thank
right.
you, Alistair. Thank you so much.
I heard him right. And I think he was speaking on behalf of many people because they were wondering what is going to happen. I think I can go back to Honorable Chuma. Professor Maduku raised the issue that this law has been there. It has been in place since 1985. Why all of a sudden is this law usable now?
Right. There are so many dimensions and conspiracy theories that you can actually come across when you want to follow this issue. I'm an outgoing MP. I go around and mingle with people in churches, in bars, in funerals, and I hear views from people from different walks of life. What the previous speaker just said is a very alive fact. Pame panapa kabhali yaramjuri yakushanda manje kuti inyatso-disable government kuti inyatsonzi government yazotadza zvachose. But at the same time, like who rightly said, a law is there, the judges are there to interpret that law as it is, and they've done that. Yes, we can question why have they done it now, since that law has been operational since 1985. The timing definitely then raised a lot of eyebrows. But in meaning, what I really want to dwell on is that this is a very unfair thing, and we cannot allow it to happen. As much as we are a law-abiding country and citizens, we need to really definitely look into this. I'm glad there's a lineup of meetings even from our own party, Paves today. There was County Bureau sitting. On Friday, the Central Committee sitting. And I'm hoping that my colleagues in Central Committee, I also happen to be a Central Committee member, are going to voice out on this issue. And we see politically what is our stance. How best can we come up with a solution? Because it's not the Kwadza for sure, that is not a lie. We are not a people that want to see people suffering. That is why we even made promise in our manifesto in the massive document who are going to create 2 million jobs plus. And now we have this situation on our hands. So level-headedly, what do we do? How do we get out of this? Laws surely must be amended. They must be changed. We must have a win-win situation here. The employer must win, but the employee must equally win as well. I spend 15, 20 years, even more years at the Chandra Kamban, Ongozongonzi, Shamari, Zagobanaba Zapera, Osaka Uyabasa, Uchana Peago, 3 months, will advise you how you're going to get it. This is not fair at all. In any given circumstance, in any given situation, in any given country, it's not right. So we need to definitely look into this thing and see, are these people doing it sincerely, or there's a motive behind this, but majorly, because it's a law, the first thing that we need to do practically is definitely amend that law, change it, and make it more user-friendly, more people-oriented. Because at the end of the day.
But before you go, Honorable, some would argue that this is a law that has been in place for many years, even before the Gamma talks or whatever the issues that are being attributed to this ruling were in place. The law has been there for a time.
Right, but ask yourself, this issue of retrenchments and stuff like that did not start today. Why was it never interpreted as Gudara? I remember there was a guy from PG who has been battling in court, and he was actually awarded a couple of millions of dollars, actually, as his exit package. But now, suddenly, because that same term was there. But I remember a lot of retrenchments were being hampered because the companies didn't have the money to pay off the workers, and they made to make payment arrangements and payment plans to sort of offset the workers off gracefully, and that has been the norm. Chazochinja manje now ukuthi even majaji athi ukuthi azozona mthemo uyu nasi chi chawasina kuzona from 1985 until today, because the retrenchment anawutaka nasika. My companies have been retrenching, and the people have been going out peacefully and orderly. But then suddenly, that thing is now brought up. Why now?
Yes, yabonga kakhulu ke baba khonapho honorable Mr. Chuma. Sibukwe baba Mcijo nje ngamafutshane. Siyosa sikuxolisa sibili ukuthi nxa ufuna usihambela nje uzasihambela. Yeah, so ubona ngazani pho kuyiwa ngaphi ngodaba lo?
Engibona lapha ukuthi lamadoda ayiyo aqhubungula imithetho atshengisile kuhlanganisa lohulumende ukuthi bangama-capitalist. I-capitalism ivele yona ikhangela ukunotha kwabalutshwana lokuhlupheka kwabaningi. Ngakho-ke lapho siyakhona iqiniselise siya ebubini obudlulisileyo nxa imisebenzi lokho abantu belahlekelwa yiyo kulisipho kakhulu oluzayo ebantwini. Ngakho-ke kufanele ukuthi-ke abantu bahle bazi, ngoba akuncedi lutho ukuthi lizabe lokhu lisithi lilohulumende kodwa ongelandaba lani. Kufanele ukuthi abantu bazi. Angake ngibone mina uhulumende uyekelela into enje njengokukhuluma kwenze uProfessor Maduku, iqhubekela phambili ngoba ichaya abantu abakhe. Nxa umuntu echaya abantu abakho wena ungezwe ubuhlungu, khonapho-ke yikho kulobunzima khona. Lisupho sibilo olukhona ebantwini okumele ukuthi balunanzelele. Njalo uhlupho nje ukuthi lo 2018 wangikhona ukhatshana ngoba iqinisekise laba abantu sebekhuphe amakhala zabo egcekeni. Wonke umuntu lolowo balandelayo sebona ukuthi hayi laba balandaba lathi.
Siyakuzwa kakhulu ke baba Mcijo. Hayi sibongela ithuba lathi namhlanje. Siza ku-invite futhi next time ukuthi sikwejiseni sisonkeni lapha sike sixoxene nje. Siyabonga kakhulu.
Siyabonga.
Yeah, so what Mr. Mcijo was saying is that the government is full of capitalist rulers. So at the end of the day, they are doing what they're doing because they want to cater for their needs, nothing else. He says they don't care about the plight of the workers.
Yes.
So he says this is very serious, and 2018 is too far. He wants them to be out.
That's a tall order.
Yeah.
Tine muteereri mukoma Ronald vari muHarare. Makadii mukoma Ronald? Ndiri mupenyu. Muri mushandi here kana kuti muri mushandi akarasikirwa nebasa kana kuti manga muchitsvaga basa asi nekurasikirwa kuitwa vamwe nemabasa makambani achivhara hamuchisina tarisiro yekuwana basa?
Takarasikirwa nemabasa hawakudhara.
Asi mukatibatsira makadzora zvishoma volume reredhiyo kana kuti kusuduruka mbichana kubva paredhiyo. Saka taurai zvamuri kuda kutaurawo kupa kune vakateerera pane nonguva.
Ndanda kuzivisa kuti ko iva varume vanopa mitemo ndo varizive makambani iri, saka hapana zvimwe zvavangataura
mukoma Ronald, rambai muri parunhare. Takumboshandura chirongwa kubva kune vateereri vedu veparedhiyo tichienda kune vanenge vaakutona paterevhizheni yepaonline, saka tinoti rambai muripo todzoka kwamuri zvino Gibbs.
We wish to say goodbye to our radio listeners as we are now streaming live on www.voazimbabwe.com. For our guests, Professor Lamma Maduku and Honorable Joseph Chuma, please stay on the line. And for our listener, Ronald, stay on the line too. This is Gibbs in Washington, D.C.
And I'm Jonga Kandemiri.
For those that have just joined us tonight on Studio 7 Live Talk, we are talking about massive job cuts in Zimbabwe. At least 18,000 workers in various sectors have lost their jobs in almost 2 weeks following a Supreme Court order following a Supreme Court ruling, right? Allowing employers to fire workers by giving them only a 3-month notice. If you wish to join the show right now, phone us directly at this number 001-202-619-2077 and we'll call you back. That number again 001-202-619-2077. And our guests right now are Professor Labme Maduku, who is a constitutional law expert. We also have Honorable Joseph Chuma, who is a ZANU-PF Member of Parliament for Penanda Mpoma.
And tine muteereri pano mukoma Ronald tavabatisa pachikamu chedu chekutanga saka ngatichienderera mberi nawo. Mukoma Ronald, chipedzisai zvamava muchitsanangura.
Kana ndautsanangura kuti vatongi vacho vezvimota ava ndo varidzive makambani saka ukataisa ndo makambani acho anenge achimisa vanhu saka kuti nyaya igadzirisire hatione chideteni.
Asika mukoma Ronald, mutemo uri kunzi wanga uripo kubvira 1985, saka ava kuti titi kubvira 1985 vanga vakangomirira kuzoti kana vane makambani kana kuti vanga vaine makambani aone chekare. Ndofunga mubvunzo mukuru ungava kuti sei mutemo uyu wanga usingananganidzwe zvawakuitwa iye zvino nhasi, chii chasvitsa ipapo? Ndofunga pamwe mukabvunza Professor Maduku vanogona kutibatsira ipapo.
Ipapo ndofunga vakagona kutibatsira kuti sei wanga wakamira nokuti handikuona mutemo wakaiswa kuma-85 uzotanga kushanda nhasi chanyanyoneta kuti mutemo uyu unge uchipinzwa nhasi.
Professor Maduku. Professor Maduku, muchiri parunhare here? Tinenge tadambudziko nenhare yavo. Mukoma Ronald ndowimba Professor Maduku vambobata nyaya iyoyo, asi tina Honorable Joseph Chuma vambopindura mumwe muteereri anga abvunzawo zvingada kuenderana izvozvo, asi ndofunga vanogona kutibatsira zvakare.
Right. Like I said before, mutemo uyu ninowandishamisa kuti hini ndava wazouya nhasi 2015 iyo uri mutemo wakaumbwa ukaiswa in 1985. But inini chandoda kukurudzira vanhu vese vemuno muZimbabwe is that ngatichingomirayi nyaya yemablame games. Haatibatsiri, haatipe bundutso. Chinozotibatsira, what will help us is for us to look at things and attack them head on as they come and try and get solutions, amicable solutions dzinozobatsira vanhu vese, because kurashikirwa kwebasa kauko hakuzi pamwe kuri kurashikira vanhu veMDC kana kuti veZAPU kana kuti vechii, kuri kurashikira vanhu veZimbabwe vese including veZANU-PF vacho. So it will be very unfair for anybody to insinuate kuti pamwe ZANU-PF is deliberately neglecting, or like what the other fellow panelists Ramkujo said kuti 2018 yaakure kunge chinhu chaitwa neZANU-PF. It's not very fair at all. Isusuwo eZANU-PF tine vanhu vanoshandauka, ma-structures edu are comprised of people that work. So they are the same people who are also being affected by this whole fiasco. Like today, ndatofonegwa nerimwe gamba rangu rekuMachovani in Bulawayo atopiwawo tsamba from National Railways of Zimbabwe, NRZ, echidzingawo basa like that. He's a member of ZANU-PF, a district member actually, and arasikirwawo futhi nebasa. So it's not something that is affecting a certain section, it's affecting the whole of Zimbabwe. That is why Pandatanga in Ndati, let us as Zimbabweans put our heads together and focus on the real root cause of this thing so that we eliminate it totally. Cut it above the stem, we will not have solved the problem. Let us solve the problem from uprooting the root. What is the real problem? And we don't want to also then come out and be seen like we are lawless people lawfully, so that we always be seen and known that we abide by the law. This one, law, like I said, it can be changed. cabinet, I know, was seized with this issue. They've been trying to do amendments to that bill so that it's brought to Parliament and things are done properly. So that at the end of the day, it will not recur again, because stop gap measure in 20 years down the line again, it will come to haunt us again. So we don't want that to repeat.
Honorable musati maenda mukoma Ronald vasati vaenda vazhinji vateereri vedu vangu vachibvunza kuti mabasa akavimbiswa neZANU-PF pasarudzo aripi, ndofunga mungangojekesa ipapo.
Mabasa akavimbiswa neZANU-PF tikuedza kuti auye through the Zim asset blueprint redu. That's why the president went out to China, he went out to Russia, our vice president was in Belarus. We are trying to get in investment. That's why Tagueza would even cordon some areas, special economic zones, so that companies from outside come in to invest directly here, and then once we have that, then employment is created. So while we are busy doing that, here is something else that is coming up to step us, on our back. And then you wonder, would you go? It is because of this thing that I always say, people are not sincere. Try to let this thing be normal. Let's try and create things that are good for people. But then some things come in, maspanners are thrown into the works while we're trying to work. And look, we're not going to tire, because we have got a country to run, we have got a people to save, so we are going to do exactly that, because we were chosen by the people to come and represent them in Parliament. So we're not going to stop and keep quiet about it. We're going to make a lot of noise about it. But to Kudakuti, at the end of the day, when we do something, we do it lastingly. Let's come up with a win-win situation for everybody. Yes, somebody can say, this is good because employment creation was going to be difficult, because a lot of investors think that investing in Zimbabwe is difficult, because who knows, are tied to workers that you can't easily retrench when things are actually going bad or something like that. But investing has a win-win. Not good, someone is winning, someone is losing. We cannot accept that kind of situation. You see? So we are trying to do that. Deals are coming. Like right now, as I speak, there's a Chinese delegation in my estate that is coming to do the financial side of the deals that were signed by the president of China, which means these are things that are about to start rolling out. Russia is also coming in very heavily, including even America and Britain itself. They're coming in heavily, and that is where the creation is actually supposed to come in. But one thing that people must understand is that it is not going to happen overnight. But it will also happen if everybody of us pulls together in that same direction. But demonize Zimbabwe. How will the investor come? You bad about your same country.
Maita basa honorable rambai muri parunare mukoma Ronald, thank you so much. Tinokutendai nokupinda pachirongwa Gibbs.
Now we've got Mr. Bulisani Ncube, who is a Bulawayo-based businessman. Mr. Ncube, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, Mr. Paves. Thank you very much for inviting me to talk in your program.
Thank you so much, and stay on the line. We also have Mr. Raymond Machongwe, who is the General Secretary of the Progressive Teachers Union of Zimbabwe. Mr. Machongwe, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, how are you?
Very fine. How is Harare?
Harare is burning, my brother.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's go to Mr. Ncube first, Mr. Bulisani Ncube. Now, this issue of retrenching workers, you are one of the employers. Tell us what is going on now.
Look, anybody who is fair-minded will never support this kind of a situation which is currently occurring, where people are willingly being dismissed from work. That's just unacceptable. I'm not a lawyer. Neither am I a fund in law. But whatever the case may be, to me it is the law which requires that. It is a very, very bad law which should not see the light of the day. Including the judgment on its own, which is actually triggered that, is a bad judgment. Really, which is not supposed to be in the same age with all due respect. Because that judgment, in my opinion and understanding, negates quite a number of issues. One of the issues is the right enshrined in the Constitution of a decent work. I don't think that right surely can be terminated by giving somebody 3 months notice. that can happen. Look, that is very, very, very bad, because it's just as good as just dismissing. And if you look at the way some companies are even doing it, they're doing it in a very, very clumsy way. They say we're giving you 3 months notice, but leave the office today, and they are treating people as though they are dealing with the criminals and people who have been stealing from them for a long, long time, and they've now got an opportunity to keep them out. They are not even saying wait for 3 months and complete the no. They're saying today. They give you the letter, sign, or today, and that is very, very bad. And I don't think that means really took even into account ILO labor standards, because Zimbabwe is a signatory to those things, and I don't think that is very good at that. It almost makes me believe that the judges are also serving their own purpose, because they found themselves in another position. They are in an untenable position where they are employing in their own rights, in their own farms. And they also would now have to defend should they decide to kick out the people without giving them benefits. I think that's basically it. No business in its right sense, business person in its right sense will restrict another human being especially in these difficult times. When all of a sudden somebody has not committed an offense, he has never been charged for anything, but just because you want to get rid of him, you just give him 3 months. That is very, very bad.
Thank you very much for those words, Mr. Ngube, and stay on the line. Before we go to Mr. Machongwe, I think we are going to read 1 or 2 messages on WhatsApp. And one of the messages is from Simon C., who says, I think our government is doing all it can to save its face. Today is the private sector employees. Next time is the civil servants. Mark my words. They are going to cut all benefits. Just wait and see. And then we've got Boniface.
Boniface anoti apana kugona, because tax yaibatirwa vanhu vese ava vaiwana pimari yacho. Where were they getting the tax to where tax these guys if they were employed? Then hanzi nemumwe anonzi Paves iyi inyaya inoshungurudza kwazvo, because munhu kana uchimudzinga basa anorarama sei? Because it a crispen ati that's not fair, because any employer must give his workers notice of 3 months, not 1 month. That's what shows that home is still not good. Saka kumusha kusati kwa kudzokereka, because 18,000 is a big number, meaning most of the companies are closing. Atizota anyora ari kupi asari kuti aasi kudzokera kumusha.
Then we've got Alfred, who says the judiciary arm, which is an undisputed arm of ZANU-PF, sought to serve its master's interests, because the majority of companies left in Zimbabwe are now owned by ZANU-PF chiefs. They are merely serving their interests, while the common man will wallow and whine in synthesized poverty. What you can evidently see is a well-programmed destruction of the economy and the suffering of the peasants. Then we've got Regis, who says you can rig elections, but you cannot rig the economy. ZANU-PF promised to create millions of jobs, but companies are shutting down every day. And then we've got somebody who sent an audio. Let's hear what this person had to say.
Makadini zvenye tichisepi ini ndinoda kutaura navamwe vose muzimbabwe ndinoda kutaura maererano nematongerwo anoitwa nyika yezimbabwe. Mukaona vanhu vari kunyanya kunetseka madzimai, vamwe vacho vakatirwa nevarume, vane nherera dzavari kuchengeta mumadzimba. Hino kana vanhu vava kudzimba mabasa zvisina mutemo, zvisina tsarukano, kurarama hwevanhu ivavo hwogumirawo papi, hwoita sei? Nyangwe utongo hunongodzi hweZANU-PF husingatarisi kodzero dzevanhu, ivo vanhu vachipera kumbonyikidzwa kodzero dzavo vachiurayiwa. Tosvika papi nenyika zvakadai? Tongoti chete deno Mwari apindira, tingoisa minamato munherera nemadzimai nevanhu vose vari kutambudzana, vari kudzimba mubasa zvisiri pamutemo. Ndotenda zvavo.
That was Mkoma Isaac. He said most of these people who are affected are women, and they are suffering a lot. And he also went on to attack the ZANU-PF government, not attack as such, but he hit out at the ZANU-PF government. He said it's not respecting human rights, because it should make sure that its people are protected and not to just let employers do things willy-nilly. So I think he is one of a million people who are also mourning about this whole thing.
To our guests, what we're going to do is to give you a few seconds, a few minutes to actually comment, not more than 1 minute 30, right? So we go to you, Mr. Machongwe. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Right. So tell us what is going on in the civil service. We are told that there are some workers who were actually taken out of the, civil service salary bill. What is going on?
Yeah, I think what has basically happened is the Minister of Finance came out and made a pronouncement that he expects to cut down government expenditure from 80 to 40%. How it's going to be done is anybody's guess. We are really not sure whether he's just going to pull a Houdini Act or he's going to do an Alibaba on us. We are not sure. But the most important thing is government knows where the ghost workers are hiding. And the ghost workers are the ones that are running around the country looking for workers where it works. Because these are the people who have nothing to do. So they have enough time to move from place to place, sniffing out teachers who are supposed to be at work and doing everything. But as far as we are concerned, we want to look at what is happening in the private sector as the mirror through which we see what government wants to do. As far as we are concerned, the lessons that are there to be learned is all labor organizations of Zimbabwe must unite. If we are going to fight as individuals, we will be swallowed. This war is too big to be fought by one individual or one entity. Lesson number one. Lesson number two, we want to see all of us forgoing our political jackets. The workers who are in ZANU, in MDC, and many other, the NCA and every other political party, we are supposed to forgo those political differences and ideological situations that are created by others. To say for once, let us with one voice and confront the enemy.
Thank you, Mr. Machongwe.
And most importantly, I want to be... I'm listening.
Thank you so much. I said we are going to put sanctions.
Zirango.
Yes, Joga is saying Zirango.
Zirango.
So your 1 minute, 30 seconds. If you don't do well there, tough luck. So we're giving you 10 seconds. Go ahead. Wrap up.
As the workers of Zimbabwe, I think it is time to unite. We want to send a very clear message. And I think tomorrow we are urging everybody and anyone who's interested to come to Parliament so that we hand letters to say, parliamentarians, you must decide. We want parliamentarians to be told in no uncertain terms that the workers that they are sacrificing today can come back to haunt them tomorrow. We cannot continue to watch this tsunami being led by political judges. And I think it is a lesson that everybody must learn.
Thank you.
Civil servants must be told. They are not safe. They are equally at risk. And every other worker must make sure that they stand on their feet, tell tomorrow's function and attend Saturday's function and speak with one voice. All of us, ZCTU, COSITU, ZFTU, UFAUZ, and anybody who claims to lead the worker movement.
Mr. Machongwe, thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you so much, Mr. Machongwe. So, silomnumzana ke unkosi ecingweni lapha usebutswana. Baba Nkosi ungawutshona njani?
Ngitshole kunjani futhi?
Sithole kakhulu siyakunika sibili 1 minute ngoba isikhathi sangikhona sesiliwe ngomangoyi baba siyaxolisa. Ichako lapha.
Hayi, i-problem ekhona lapho ukuthi yabona njengoba besithi bona umthetho lo wawukhona even ngo-1985 kusiya emuva khona lesi. It's only because those companies why wawungasetshenziswa ama-company lawo ayengamakhiwa. Khathesi amakampani wonke la asethengwa ngabantu bezana. That is why umthetho lo sebefuna ukuwusebenzisa khathesi because they don't want to pay ama-workers ama-packages nxa sebephuma because bazibona ukuthi bayaluza. Even i-judiciary system yakhona i-Supreme Court leyo kuthiwa hanjukembe constitutional court, they own the very same companies. There is nothing, you cannot be a judge in your own case. Kufana nokuthi uhambe report emapholiseni uchaye ngelinye ipholisa. Do you think ukuthi bangakuthatha indaba yakho ibe right? It won't even change anything. They are just wasting time. Laba abantu vele abasoze bawutshintshe lo mthetho because it is benefiting them. Ama-company zona lawo abaxotsha abantu bengababhadali ngawabona laba abantu ababusilizwe akusoze kutshintshe lutho. Umthetho lo, the reason why babengawusebenzisi is because ama-company ayingamakhiwa. Yabo. Khathesi ama-company asengawabo abasafuni ukuthi umuntu aphume ebhadile. Akusoze kutshintshe lutho ngitsho. Just a waste of time. Kuphela into engenzakala kuphela just wait for 2018 we vote ama-elections
TP abantu labo kuphela, then at the end of the day singaphila kuhle.
Siyabonga kakhulu Nkosi khonapho ke eBotswana ungadinela kusasa baba.
Nganthe mina ungifonele kule ndaba engifuna sicubungule kawusazange wangifona.
Hayi ngiyaxolisa sibili ngiyakufona ngisuka lapha sibili lawo.
Ndawufakela ama-sanction.
Yeah. Yeah, lokukahle mbongile kakhulu. Baba Nkosi, I think he was very loud and clear, you know. Says most companies are now owned by ZANU-PF chaps. And he believes some of the Supreme Court judges also own companies, so they wanted to get rid
But
of their own
I have a question on that.
Go ahead.
If they are owned by people who are in ZANU-PF or wherever, and they are retrenching at this rate, do they have any hope to continue operating, or it's the end of the company?
Yes, now I think Honorable Chuma comes in handy here. Honorable Chuma, I think you heard Mr. Nkosi and what Mr. Jongo is saying. Go ahead. What is your response?
The first thing that I want to applaud to is what Mr. Bajonge said. Could everyone, let's come together. ZANU-PF, MDC, everyone, let's come together and confront this devil, this evil that has come in our midst. Like I said, it's something, it's a devil that is consuming all of us, irrespective of our political affiliation or whatever status. Right. And then secondly, I don't know how far true that is, because the companies actually they're owned by, because what I know for sure, my party does not own companies. Maybe individuals in the party might own companies, but still, a policy, a party is that we are supposed to be people-oriented. We serve the people. So whether the companies are owned by individuals in that party, our policy does not allow that. And like I said, we're sitting in a central committee on Friday. If ever it is done deliberately that way, if ever maybe these companies are owned by those judges, then definitely they are going to hear our voices and PF, because we stand for the people. So when the people are suffering, we are suffering as well. Especially if you talk about people like me, who's a member of parliament, who suffer, who constituency, who suffer me as well. Because can you imagine, if these people cannot send their kids to school, they'll be coming to knock at my door. MP, and the school fees, MP, the Rarigwa, MP, the Figwa, and where does that money come from? You see? So we are not, I will personally will not ever allow that. We will not allow that, we will not condone it. We are going to stand against that. It's very abhorrible. We will not allow it at any given chance as ZANU-PF, because I know ZANU-PF, I know our president is always outstanding for the people. He wants the people in front face. So is definitely, what I can assure the nation is that it's not ZANU-PF policy, and it will never be ZANU-PF policy. And if ever it is being done clandestinely that way, we are going to fish out that kind of stance and correct it immediately, because we will not stand for that. We do not stand for that.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chuma, and stay on the line. Wamanje silomnumzana Andrew eGoli. Baba Andrew, ungaunjani?
Ngiyaphila linjani bafethu?
Siyaphila kakhulu. Phosela ko baba isikhathi singani sesidlongo mangoyi.
Sesidlongo mangoyi nyasibona impela. Hey, kaloku isikhathi sesidlongo mangoyi. Nabe ngithi mina konke okwenzakalayo phakathi kwelizwe lethu kubuhlungu, kushisa ubuhlungu. Kube ngabe kuthiwa abantu bonke bayananzelela into le. uNkulunkulu uthi ukuthi izanu bingeke iye iphume embusweni uNkulunkulu engabonisanga ububi bezanu, ngoba kwenziwa izanu, amajaji wonke angaphansi kwezanu, konke lokhu kwenziwa izanu. So ngokunjalo bekufanele ukuthi khona baqaphelisa ukuthi 18,000 people khona phana kufanele kuphume upresident njengaye upresident Robert Mugabe. Mhlawumbe abazali labo mase beswele izimali, besweliswa ukuthi baqunywe imisebenzi, abasela imisebenzi. Angazi ukuthi bona bazwa njani. Mina ngicabanga ukuthi sebeyingcwaba manje, so bekungeke kwenza ukuthi izanu uphume embusweni. Abantu bonke ababulawayo kumbe ababulala abantu endaweni ezitshiyeneyo zelizwe bengakaboni ukuthi izanu yimbi. So sebeyibona ukuthi izanu yimbi, ambona ukuthi ku-2018 kumbe ku-17 bazoyivotela izanu, ngoba kade sisiqume ngicabanga ukuthi 3/4 kumbe half ngabantu bezanu labo bakhona baqunyiwe imisebenzi. So angiboni ukuthi bazayivotela. Bekungeke kwenza ukuthi izanu iphume embusweni abantu bezanu abayisupportayo eyivotelayo bengakaboni. Ngiyabonga.
Hayi sibonga kakhulu uhlwa nje ekhaleni. So ke nomzana Andrew ungadinela kusasa uphenduke njalo. So he says what is happening back in Zimbabwe is in South Africa. He says it's very painful, and he believes that 2018 will actually bring misery to ZANU-PF. He says people won't vote for it because he thinks that some of these people that have been fired belong to that party. So maybe it's got some truth there. We don't know. But
still, Honorable Schumer refuted that notion. He said, come election time, this has nothing to do with ZANU-PF. This has nothing to do with MDC. This has something to do with the law that has been there since 1985. So people should not give this law to ZANU-PF. But maybe because ZANU-PF is in power since 1980 and 1985 when the law was set up, and until today when people are being retrenched using the same law. Maybe that's where ZANU-PF is being brought in. You can
right. Facebook silo ukusakhile lapho situmezele umlayezelo wakhe uthi kanti yena umongameli Robert Mugabe uthuleleni kakezwa kanti ukuthi izinto ziyonakala elizweni lakhe okumenza athule izwi kuyini sure. So she's saying, where is the president? Why is he quiet? He should speak out, So then we've got Masunga who writes, this ZANU-PF strategy will not work. Let's wait and see what they're trying to do. Then we've got Nelson who says, Zimbabweans must learn a lesson that number of people that have been retrenched is minus from those 2 million jobs that were promised by ZANU-PF. I think you may put it the other way around. So just briefly, gentlemen, I'll start with you, Mr. Burisani Ngube. Are you still on the line? Are you there, Mr. Ngube?
Yes, I'm still there.
Okay, your last word, sir. Just briefly.
I'm disappointed by the attitude taken by the MP of ZANU-PF to try and deny the responsibility. This is truly all the responsibility of ZANU-PF, and to show that ZANU-PF is involved. The Minister of Transport, all parastatals under the Minister of Transport have applied it indiscriminately. And if ZANU-PF was not part of it, surely parastatals will not be doing that. So that's very dishonest, and it's disappointing to have leaders who are so dishonest. The long and short of it, if that law is existed as once again in 1985, surely it is the baby and the product of ZANU-PF, and ZANU-PF has to live with it. All what I can say, probably the judges didn't realize the consequences of their decision. What should be happening today is that people should be saying those are unintended consequences of their decision. And unfortunately, the laws of unintended consequences tend to be very, very harsh, and they tend to be very, very harsh to Zimbabwe.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ngobe.
Vamajongwe vazhinji vari kuti vashandi vehurumende vanogona kubatwawo nemutemo iyoyu, asi takanzwawo gurukota vamai mupfumira vachivimbisa kuti aiwa hakuna zvakadaro zvichaitika. Muri kutambirawo here assurance yavakapa iyo? Vamajongwe
kuti takabva tatozvitaura kuti aiwa misodzi yegarwe vari kutinyepera nekuti vakatotanga nekuti iye zvino varairizwa vakwana pei vakawanda. Nhasi vanga vachitenderera muzvikoro vachitumira vanhu vanga vachinyora mazita ematicha asiri pabasa kuti vavachaje vavasaspendi vavabvinde basa. Iye zvino tiri kuzviziva kuti itori purogiramu yehurumende yekudzinga varairidzi nekuti vakawanda maticha asiri kumaunioni, maticha ane tumhosva tudiki pekunzi kana kuti huku dzako dzakagamuriwa headmaster vari kutochadzwa vachidzinga basa, kureva kuti hurumende inotori neplani. Vari kuti vari kuda kuzvikoro 2000 zvikoro izvozvo kana pachida kuvakwa zvikoro 2000 zvivanorairidzwa nematicha api kana vachiti vari kuda kutoti vareduce wage bill from 80% to 40%.
Unfortunately, Mr. Machongwe, sorry, there's no extra time. It's not like Islanders versus Dynamos, right? No 16 minutes extra time, right? So thank you, gentlemen. Sorry, we're out of time and we have to leave it there. We thank our guests this evening, Professor Lovemo Matuku, Mr. Pesim Klijo, Honorable Joseph Chuma, Mr. Burisani Ngube, and Mr. Raymond Machongwe. We also wish to thank all the listeners and viewers who actually participated in this program. Signing off is Gibbs Dube in Washington, D.C.
And I'm Jonga Kandemiri, hoping you'll stay with us until we meet again here on Studio 7 Live Talk tomorrow.